Yeah, it was a horrible loss to Stanford by Colorado. Horrible loss. To dominate the first half the way they did. And everyone keeps using the term complacency. I don't believe that the team was complacent. I believe that the team was happy that they were up. I believe that they looked at Stanford as a team that they can use to, you know, pad their stats. They looked at Stanford as a team that they can just, roll over. I don't think complacency was the key. What was it? Because with a blowout like that initially, I know a lot of the players on the sidelines who usually don't get playing time were probably thinking, "Oh, this is the game that I'll get to play." Perhaps probably in the second part of the third quarter or maybe in the first part of the fourth quarter, some of these players are thinking, "Hey, I'm going to get a chance to come in." And I think this is an opportunity for Colorado to let the world know how dominant they can be. I don't think complacency came in. The problem with that game was coaching. You say, what do we mean coaching? Well, when you're up by 29 points on a team, why do you come out in the second half with the same intensity as if the game is tied? You have to play to the score. Alton McCaskill, I think that's his name. Wilkerson, Hankerson, I believe, one of those guys. I don't understand why Colorado did not continue to run the ball. I did not know this stat. I heard this listening to someone's YouTube channel. I did not know that Stanford ran the ball more than Colorado. Now, you may be asking yourself, why is that a big deal? It's a big deal because usually when a team is down by that much, being 29 points down, they are going to be emphatic and they're going to put a lot of emphasis on throwing the ball because time is not on their side. They're trying to hit quick strikes. So throwing the ball and getting yards through the air is going to be their fastest way to close in the gap in terms of the score. So the fact that Stanford ran the ball more than Colorado, that's an alarming stat because when a team is up, they usually run the ball to kill the clock. Colorado did not do that. They did not do that. Stanford ran the ball, I believe, 47 or 51 times. And I believe Colorado ran the ball only 35 times. What are they doing? It seems like, and this is just my assumption, I could be wrong, but it seems like Colorado is hell-bent on padding the stats of Shedure. Like, let's keep throwing the ball. And Shedure was just laser focused only on Travis. He missed some other receivers because he was just so hell-bent on throwing the ball to Travis Hunter. And speaking of Travis, he did not look good coming back from this liver laceration, missing several weeks. I believe that they should have brought him back slower. Maybe because him playing both sides of the ball, coming back off of injury, to me was a bit too much. This is his first game back. Maybe he was a little bit winded. But this was coaching to me, folks. You have to eat the clock. The pressure's on them. It seemed like Colorado came out like, oh, this team is easy. I don't think that's complacency. I think that's just you overlooking your opponent and looking at the second half as a way to repeat what you did in the first half. No, you have to play to the score. If you're up by 29 freaking points, you play like you're up by 29 points. You drain the clock. You put the pressure on them to keep throwing the ball. One thing that I've seen consistently from Colorado is that they cannot stop slants. These crossing routes are killing them. Think about this for a second, folks. Go back to every game that they've played this year. There's been one receiver for every team that's dominated them. I mean, getting video game numbers. I mean, the guy yesterday for Stanford, I'm not good with names, but we all know who he is. The guy that kept catching a football off of Travis Hunter's helmet. The guy almost had 300 yards, receiving yards. That's crazy. And the craziest thing about it is that he kept on running the same route. It wasn't like he was just pulling out the gamut in terms of the whole route tree of a receiver. Like, I'm gonna just show you everything that I have. No, he kept doing the same thing. So that was also alarming to me. I'm like, why, y'all? He's doing the same thing, but for some reason, I don't know. This has to be coaching, and then you also see the substitution penalties. That's also coaching for a prime led team to be undisciplined like that. That's alarming. Also, the penalties over 17. I think about 17 penalties for Colorado Buffaloes. That's too much. That is way too much. This is a good loss. I believe that everything that everything that the Colorado Buffaloes are going through is something that they need to go through. I think it's good for them, but it's just a hard loss. This is the game they should have won. They dominated. They're the better team, obviously. Man, I'm looking back. I can't see how they lost that game. And then at the end, everyone is saying, well, Shedure, it's not his fault. Look at his numbers. I don't give a damn about Shadore's numbers. That's the problem. We're so fixated on his numbers. That last play of throwing the ball off of his back foot, just throwing it up in the end zone, that lost the game, because at least they were in field goal range. I'm sure if Mata would have came in and kicked the field goal, it would put pressure on Stanford to actually score to win. And if they did not score to win, they would just kick a field goal. Then we'll go into triple overtime. But why would you do that? You're in overtime. The last thing you want to do, Shedure, is throw an interception and give the other team the opportunity to win, because when the other team gets the ball, they don't need a touchdown. All they need is a score. And pretty much in the overtime rules, where a team gets the ball, you're pretty much almost in field goal range. So the game was already lost. Once that interception was caught, I knew the game was over. But this team has to change something. I think they're trying to paint themselves as an offensive juggernaut in terms of we're a passing team. But in actuality, if you look at their personnel, they should be a running team. With McCaskill, with Wilkerson, I think it's Hank Wilkerson, I believe that's his name, and Dylan Edwards, they have the running backs. Yeah, you're not going to get 20 yards every run. You have to be patient. You have to commit to it. In practice, you have to practice these blocking schemes to open up these holes for these running backs. McCaskill is a monster. If you looked at what he did at U of H his freshman year, and he's not being used at all. And then you're trying to run Dylan Edwards up the middle. That's the last place you want to run a little guy like that down the middle. I don't understand what's going on. I know I'm not a coach, and I know people are going to say, well, you're not a coach. Who are you? I'm an observer. And I'm trust me, there are other coaches that are saying the same thing that I'm saying. You're up by 29 points. Why not run the ball? Why does the team who was getting blown out, why do they run? Why do they have more runs than you? You know what that tells me? That tells me that Stanford, even though they knew they had to come back, they still wanted to keep Colorado Buffaloes honest on defense. They didn't want to come across as, hey, look, guys, we're going to be one-dimensional because we have to hurry up and throw the ball every down to come back. No, they continue to run the ball as well as throw the ball to keep the defense honest. Here, Colorado is up by 29, and even if the Stanford team scored touchdowns to close the gap, this is before they even tied the game, I still believe Colorado still could have committed to the run. And they were running well early. McCaskill looked good. Wilkerson had a big run. And I remember they threw I think they threw a little hitch pass to Dylan, and he scampered for a first down. I mean, use your backs. It seems like they just want to prove that Shedure is the guy. So we're going to just throw the ball on every down. We want to feature Travis and Shedure. There's more to your team than Travis and Shedure. This team, Colorado, is way too talented to blow a 29-point lead. But I believe that when you have an agenda on a team and you're trying, go back to what happened in Seattle. This is going back to the NFL. What happened in Seattle in the Super Bowl? When you have an agenda as a coach, you can ruin your team. When they were right there in goal position, why not run the ball and give the ball to beast mode? But rather instead, you put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands. He throws an interception. Game's over. I see the same thing happening here with Colorado. I believe that there's so much talent on this team, both defensively and offensively. I don't see why you don't utilize you're strong in many positions. You're strong at quarterback. You're strong at receiver. Xavier Weaver is a great receiver. You have Horn Jr. He's also a good receiver. You have Travis Hunter, of course, the two-way juggernaut. You have personnel, but I, but you have to play the game according to the score and the time. When you're blowing out a team, when you come out in the second half, you almost have to play boring football. Yeah, the crowd may boo. I don't give a damn. I want to win the game. I'm going to run the ball and drain the clock. I'm going to force Stanford to call timeouts, make them kill their timeouts, and I'm going to just put my foot on their throats and suck them dry, suck the life out of them. I'm not going to keep throwing the ball as if I'm trying to come back. Situational football for Colorado Buffaloes this year has been horrible. It seemed like the focus that they had was much more intense during the beginning of the year than it is now. Remember the first game against TCU, I believe, they were so focused. They rarely had penalties. I think they had like 6 penalties. Then the second game, but not 17 penalties? You're not winning that game. You're not winning that game. And it's just unfortunate, but these things have to happen. These are growing pains. And then again, we have to put everything in context that this is a team that was put together pretty fast, a bunch of new players who were coming together. I still want to give Coach Prime credit for what he's done by bringing all the attention to Colorado and bringing the kind of energy that he's brought to that state, to that city, to that football team, to that college town. And but I'm going to keep looking at them. This is a heartbreaking loss. I mean, even when they got blown out by Oregon, it was just like, oh, come on, guys, you could be better than this. But to be up. So this year, I believe Colorado, they're going to experience everything. They've experienced the blowout. They've experienced being the underdog who won. They beat TCU. They beat Nebraska. They got blown out by Oregon. They were getting blown out by USC. They came back. They almost lost to their in-state rival, but they won at the last second. Arizona State, they beat them pretty easily. Well, not easily, but they beat them. Then they go and play Stanford. They have a big lead, and they lose. And not only do they lose the lead, they lose the game. So they need to experience the full range of emotions as it's attached to football. I believe that's what makes you a better team. I don't believe that Prime put together a team his first year and they just went out. That's not going to build character. It's almost disrespectful to the hard work that it takes, or the hard work or the things that's required to actually be a good team. I don't believe they could just come put a team together and win. It's almost disrespectful to think that he would be able to do that. So we are in a realistic world here. He put together a team quickly, but they need to suffer the full range of emotions, the ups and the downs, the ebbs and flows. They need to feel that. So when Prime told the reporters during the press conference a couple of weeks back when they got blown out by Oregon, if you're gonna get me now. This is the worst you're gonna see us. If this is the worst we're gonna see Colorado, it's gonna be scary for college football when he finally gets the dogs that he gets, because we see the glimpses of how dominant they can be. They just need to put it together for a full game. Okay, we see glimpses here and there. They have the quarterback, they have the personnel, but the thing to me is the coaching. There's something not right there. I think there's an agenda that's trying to be built, because there's no way that you don't run the ball more than a team that you're blowing out. And you're the one that's in the lead. You need to drain the clock. The clock is your friend. The clock is not their friend. So you make the clock their enemy. But you make the clock their friend by by throwing, and then you have to punt. Because when you throw, and you throw an incomplete pass, the clock stops. It's like you're giving them a timeout. But when you run the ball, it forces the clock to keep ticking and ticking and ticking. Come on, Colorado. You can do better than this. 29-0 and you lose? That's not a good thing. I think these coaches need to look at themselves in the mirror. And Sanders, Coach Prime, you're the head coach of the team. This is on you. You have to bite the bullet. You have to take this one on the chin. And I don't know. I know your son's great, but we don't have time to pat stats. Pack it up and make it bigger than what it is. We know your son's great. At sometimes we needed to call off the passes. You guys pass the ball too damn much. You guys have the running backs. I don't get it. You're not using them. You're not even keeping one in the game consistently. McCaskill is a bell cow back. He's an every down back. Use him. Stop using Dylan Edwards so much. Wilkerson and McCaskill should be your 1-2 punch. And then lightning could be McCaskill. He could come in and then blow the top off the defense with his lightning speed, but never through the middle. Maybe some sweeps, maybe a hitch pass, maybe a screen or something like that. Come on, Buffs. All right, that's my spiel. All right, thank you guys for listening. And yeah, there's no lighting in here because that's how down I feel. I felt pretty down today because I stayed up so late watching that game. Went to bed at almost 2 o'clock just to watch the team lose. It was pretty devastating to me. But that's my spiel. Thank you guys for listening. All right, bye.